The Missouri Senate Committee on Economic and Workforce Development is being called to order. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Here.
Gregory 21,
Here.
Gregory 15,
Here.
Lewis,
Here.
Schnelting,
Here.
Trent, Washington. You have a quorum.
Since we have a quorum, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. We are in executive session. I move that Senate Bill 650 be brought before the committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
This is Senator Gregory's income tax exemption for certain professions bill we heard last week. A Senate committee substitute has been distributed. Senator Gregory also presented on the Senate committee substitute last week, and I move that the committee adopt the Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 650. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the substitute say aye. Aye. All those opposed? We have adopted the committee substitute for Senate Bill 650. I now move that the committee vote Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 650 do pass. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Aye.
Gregory 21,
Aye.
Gregory 15,
Aye.
Lewis,
No.
Schnelting,
Aye.
Trent, Washington. By your vote of 4-1, you have voted to do pass Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 650.
I now move the committee take up House committee substitute for House Bill 798. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. This is Representative Warwick and Perkins' bill we heard last week that modifies provisions relating to taxation. I move that the committee vote do pass House committee substitute for House Bill 798. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Senators Brown,
Aye.
Gregory 21,
Aye.
Gregory 15,
Aye.
Lewis,
No.
Schnelting,
Aye.
Trent, Washington. By your vote of 4-1, you have voted to do pass House committee substitute for House Bill 798.
I now move that we move out of executive session and resume our normal hearing. Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
All right, we are back to our normal hearing. The first bill being heard today is Senate Bill 759, which I am the sponsor of, so I will therefore be temporarily turning over the committee chair to our vice chair, Senator Gregory.
That's what we determined. 759. All right, Senator is going to be presenting Senate Bill 759 for public hearing. When you're comfortable, proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Senator Ben Brown from the 26th District, and I am grateful for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 759, which deals with erroneous property assessments. Current law provides that a taxpayer shall be awarded costs and reasonable attorney's fees for any appeal of an assessor's classification of real property that is found by the State Tax Commission or a court competent jurisdiction to be an erroneous classification. The problem is that despite what the law says, it is not always currently being enforced. This bill would address this issue by creating an enforcement mechanism for the current law when not followed, in the form of a cause of action for someone to recover these costs and fees as well as damages that come as a result of the erroneous classification. This bill was spurred by a real-life situation that one of my constituents was forced to deal with when their property was erroneously classified as commercial. I, like many of you, I'm sure, filed a lot of bills, and we're probably a little hesitant at one point or another to take on more. I kind of had reached my limit until this story was brought to me, And after I said, no more bills filed this year, I decided I had to make an exemption because what I saw that was happening to one of my constituents was wrong and deserved to be addressed. The result in this case for the misclassification was a $16,500 property tax bill. And after exhausting every other avenue, they were left with no other option than to hire an attorney and file an appeal, the cost of which ran about $9,300, I believe. Our statutes state that the taxpayer shall be awarded costs of the appeal, but as this constituent found out navigating that process, it's not clearly lined out in statute, and in this case has proved nearly impossible. So after reaching out to various county officials as well as the State Tax Commission, they received 6 different responses as to how to proceed with recouping these costs. As a result, the county has refused to pay for any of the costs associated with the appeal as required by law. I believe that constituent is here today to testify in favor of this bill, so I will reserve any further details of that experience for her to share, but that being said, I am happy to take any questions.
All right, are there any questions for the witness? Bill sponsor. All right, we'll go in favor first. Anyone to testify in favor of Senate Bill 759, please come forward. Any witnesses testifying today, make sure you fill out a witness form and leave with us. So anyone in favor of Senate Bill 59, come on up.
Do you think your witnesses are, do you want to have her testify first? This might be like that. Okay, perfect.
Ma'am, thank you so much for joining us. And as I mentioned, don't forget to fill out one of those witness forms. Make sure you speak clear in the microphone. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, committee members, for allowing me to speak. My name is Ruth Wickman, and about 3 years ago, my daughter and I built a horse stable out by Wright City, Missouri. And of course, it was through the pandemic, which everyone knows is a very difficult time, as well as it was for us. But we had not even been open for 1 year when we received, as Senator Brown said, a property tax bill that erroneously classified our horse stable as commercial instead of agricultural. We tried to find out why the assessor made that classification, so we immediately went to visit with her, and she said it's because people were paying us for boarding their horse at our stable, and that payment classified it as commercial. According to this statute, the Missouri statute on classifications, boarding is included in agriculture, and we explained to her what that meant in the equine industry. When you board someone's horse, you shelter it and care for it while it's in your barn. Secondly, we called Mr. Larry Hickson, who is a staff member at the State Tax Commission, and his responsibility was to reach out to local assessors and help them make decisions. He listened to our description of our farm, and he said, yes, it should be agricultural, I'll call her. But no change. So number 3, we visited with the assessor again, and we drew her attention to a stable that was very near us, similar size, similar services. It's relatively small. We only have 16 acres, and we have 16 boarding stalls. And we said, that stable is classified as agricultural, as well as all the other horse stables in Warren County. No change. We encouraged her to consult other agricultural appraisers. No change. Finally, we provided a written statement from Senator Brown's office. It was developed by the research attorneys, and they stated very clearly that paying board does not change the classification. But the assessor pressed on with that commercial classification. There was no changing her mind. And as Senator Brown explained, we did have to file an appeal with the State Tax Commission. And even without a hearing, they decided that the entire property was agricultural. So I'm sharing this part of the story just to show you how impossible it is for a taxpayer to really have any influence in this area of law. We spent $9,300 on attorney's fees, and we were required to have an attorney because we have an LLC. So I did go back and I tried to figure out, okay, how do we ask for the appeal costs to be reimbursed by the county, because sincerely, it was an assessor error, and we were being under attack. We felt like we were under attack, and there was no way out. But we received 6 different responses from 6 different people as to what I should have done in order to request the reimbursement fees. And to this date, the county has refused to pay for any part of the attorney's costs and the appeal costs. So the thing is, why does this matter? I mean, this new bill would revise the language to provide a solution, but sincerely, it's you know, an increase in government accountability. You know, it was the government assessor's error. It was their mistake, even though we tried everything to help them understand what was the correct situation. So I think to have the revision like this will hold government officials accountable. Secondly, it would protect individual rights. We were doing what every other farmer in Warren County was doing. We were buying hay and cleaning the barn and fixing fence and taking care of the animals. But we were the only farm that was classified as commercial. Not sure why. Still don't know yet to this day why. But we have a right as individuals to be treated fairly and equally. So this revision, again, would work with that. And thirdly, it would support small businesses. We had been open less than a year, actually. We had struggled through the pandemic. $16,529 in annual property taxes would have put us out of business. So there are many reasons why to have this bill. Even as a small farm, we reinvest $160,000 a year in buying local hay, local feed, farrier services, veterinarian services. So we contribute to and are part of the local farm community. And in closing, I want to thank you again for listening to my story, but say that we really all have a huge stake in having people trust local government, in having small businesses succeed, and in protecting individual rights. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. I'm glad the senator got to his senses to file this legislation for you. It had been definitely tough saying no, so thank you for being here. Are there any questions for this witness? All right, seeing none. Next in favor of the legislation, please come forward.
I'm sorry. I wish I knew that you were, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, State Public Advocate. I'm in favor of SB 759. I've been through this process at the county and before the State Tax Commission. There's a lot of costs involved. I did it myself pro se. A lot of people don't understand or know their way around legalities in state statute and promulgated rules and regulations. Citizens have attorney's fees. They have appraisal fees, which have skyrocketed since COVID and have really gotten out of whack. There are reports that need to be mandated and filed with the hearing officer of the State Tax Commission. There are documents and exhibits that need to be adhered to by certain dates and disclosed to the county counselor or the county representative, their attorney, and the county assessor's office. Senator Gregory has a similar bill, SB 599, which was heard in committee, I believe, Monday. It makes only to a first-class county the hearing officer or the state tax commission to award reasonable and justifiable fees and costs. Currently, it's at $1,000, and Senator Gregory's bill would take that up to $5,000. Senator Gregory's bill also, and I'd like to see an amendment to this bill to allow for a 30-day, after the hearing officer of the State Tax Commission makes a determination and issues an order, that the clock starts running, and the county collector has 30 days to make a refund payment to the citizen, to the resident. If the county collector misses that order of 30 days from the State Tax Commission, the interest begins to accrue from the date of the order. I think that's justifiable. I think too many times government wants to penalize citizens for misstepping or not doing the right thing, and this is one great instance that if the citizen is right and wins a award from the State Tax Commission or the State Tax Commission hearing officer, that they're not penalized. And so finally, we have a consumer protection law in favor of the resident. This is a citizen. There also needs to be a citizen bill of rights instructing the State Tax Commission to disclose that $1,000 is currently available for reasonable fees, attorney's fees, and appraisals. And hopefully that gets raised through legislation. There's also in that bill was common level of assessment, and I think that that needs to be more defined. And basically, this bill mirrors that, and so I'm in favor of this bill. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that testimony. Any questions for the witness? All right, seeing none. Next witness in favor of Senate Bill 759.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Chris Schroer here on behalf of the Missouri Vacation Home Association. There are 7 counties in particular where there are hundreds of misclassifications that have occurred. So we are very appreciative of the senator bringing this bill forward and the process he's putting in place. There is federal code, how the IRS looks at properties, Missouri case law that all dictate what is the use of a property, and that commercial activity does not mean it's not residential, or in these cases, the way that these things get looked at. And just want to make sure the committee was aware of that and very supportive of this bill and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, next witness in favor, 759. All right, is there anybody here in opposition to Senate Bill 759? No one in opposition. That's awesome. Is there anyone here for informational purposes only? All right, seeing none, that'll conclude the public hearing on Senate Bill 759. Next up, we have Senator Schroer with Senate Bill 676. When you get up there and comfortable, proceed when you're ready, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Senator Schroer, Senate District 2, presenting Senate Bill 676. This bill was nestled in the chair's bill yesterday, so we perfected this. We spoke about this within that bill, but this is the standalone. Basically, this is going to allow our local sports authority to apply for a portion of the new state sales tax revenue that's generated by this sports project. You're going to hear about this here shortly. This is not impacting existing taxes, not school dollars, just a share of the new money that's coming from visitors spending in this area once the facility is built. The state would provide up to 50% of those new sales tax revenues, and only after the project is fully reviewed and approved. It's a way to make sure that the state benefits from the project's success while helping local communities take the next step in keeping that money in the community. So first, the local authority would put in its own money. It's a true partnership, not a state handout. The Department of Economic Development and the Office of Administration must approve the project and all estimates. The legislature would then make a specific appropriation every single year. There's also a cap, as you're going to hear today, on how much the state can invest overall on this project. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the sponsor?
Yes,
Senator
just to
Gregory.
clarify, I love what you're doing. So this is just giving a piece of newly generated sales taxes to them. And how do we know what they're generating? How do you know what sales tax they're generating?
That's a phenomenal question. Some of the experts behind us are going to illustrate all of that. Kind of not reinventing the wheel, but we're looking at what other areas of the state have done with similar projects. So they're going to have all the statistics for you.
Love it. Thank you.
And did I miss a memo today? Why are you all in green? Because I'm also in green.
I'm 10% Irish. I can wear green whenever I want to.
Right, right.
I have no idea. Senator Nurnburn is in green as
Wow.
well. And I had the opportunity to present and support a gubernatorial appointment who was in green as well. So I don't know. It's
Well,
just
thank you for
unofficial
getting the
green
memo.
day.
We need a photo.
We do.
We'll need a photo upstairs. Great minds think alike.
Absolutely. And why didn't you guys wear green?
Because
Hey,
great minds think alike.
We're supposed to be asking the questions here. Any further questions not having to do with sugar tie colors, Senator Washington?
So you all don't have a sports authority as it stands.
I don't believe so. It's not being utilized in this way. So if we don't make these fixes, then we're not going to be able to keep the money locally.
And this would provide you an opportunity, say like what we do in Jackson County, which is support our teams, support the facilities more. Really, we own the facilities. And having something like this would help you attract, not a World Cup because, you're not Kansas City, but
Yet.
you're not Kansas City. Don't worry about it. But it would help you attract things that you could do, like like music artists or anything, just to
Oh,
have
absolutely.
that funding to provide them a facility so that your community would be able to enjoy those things at the same time.
Yeah, and you're going to hear about one of these state-of-the-art facilities that we're going to have in St. Charles County and the amount of families that it's going to attract in our area. So this would be absolutely beneficial to our local area.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, first witness would like to testify in favor. Please come forward.
Good morning. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Robert Guinness. I'm here on behalf of the St. Charles County Convention. Should I start again? Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Robert Guinness. I'm here on behalf of the St. Charles County Convention and Sports Facilities Authority. We like to refer to ourselves as the authority because that's a lot of words to say. I want to first start, we're in favor of Bill 676, obviously. It's going to be a tremendous support for our statutory mission. I did want to answer the questions of Senator Gregory. How that computation works is we're going to have a base year, and the Department of Economic Development will review these figures. We describe what the project area is. They take the base state tax that year, and the incremental tax that's generated after that is what we base the 50% on. So what we generate in new taxes, we get to tap into. And the idea is not to just get taxes that are circulating in Missouri anyway, is to draw people from outside the state to St. Charles County and to the rest of Missouri, because our mission is economic development. The authority is a separate statutory political subdivision. It's not part of St. Charles County. We have 5 commissioners. Former Senator Dyer is a commissioner. He'll talk to you a little bit. We had a very successful project, the St. Charles County Convention Center, in cooperation with the city of St. Charles. That made a tremendous return of investment on tax dollars, and we want to replicate that for our sports facilities. And we have hired consultants who say that if we spend the proper amount of money on building a large, state-of-the-art facility, we will attract those regional and even national tournaments to Missouri. I want to be respectful of your time and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your
Thank you.
testimony. Just a reminder, everyone, please be sure to leave a witness form on the table when you come up to testify. Next up, testifying in favor, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Fred Dyer. I served in the House and the Senate, and I'd just like to tell you a couple of stories. When I was in the House, I remember gentleman that introduced the bill for Conservation Commission. And he said that this tax will never generate more than $18 million. That department now gets over $150 million. So I just want to point out that we can't look just at today. We got to look in the future. This kind of funding could be used for a long time. Also, when I got to Senate, I was privileged to serve with Senator Milton. And Senator Milton was probably the most conservative senator we've ever had in this state. He was very conservative on every issue. I remember one time I went out for lunch with him, and he had this big Lincoln. And I said, how do you convince the people down home that you're conservative driving this kind of car? He said, well, Fred, if you'll notice, this is a used car. But when it came to tourism, he was one of the most liberal senators that we had, because he had a $silver city in his district. And so this could be a lot for St. Charles County. Our convention center has been very successful, and I think this will help us for another important project. Thank you. Any question for me?
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Thank you for your testimony. Please be sure to leave a witness form.
Thank you.
And next up, to testify in favor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C. AC Dinoff, State Public Advocate. I'm in favor of this bill, but I would like to make a matter of public record some issues just to be clear and transparent. Senate Bill 676, currently the St. Charles County Convention and Sports Authority has a guest transient tax, which is on motels and hotels all throughout St. Charles County. It raises approximately $6 to $7 million annually, and that's how they operate. They built a convention center, and it is still in litigation in a lawsuit between the Sports Authority, Convention and Sports Authority and the City of St. Charles. I was trying to look up the case number. It's kind of unclear if there's an appeal that was affected, that was filed by the Convention and Sports Authority. But last June, the Chief Judge of the 11th Circuit Court of St. Charles County, Judge Vigris, entered into a ruling into an 11-point case and ruled in favor of the City of St. Charles. And the Convention Center was given to the City of St. Charles for operation and control with $1. And there's 11 points that the Convention and Sports Authority sued, I believe it was back in 2021 or 2020. It's a long-lasting litigation. It costs taxpayers a great deal of money for attorneys from both sides. This bill, SB 676, has a $10 million bucket of money, and they have to prove and match those in generated taxes. Any convention and sports authority, they would be limited to $5 million maximum. The sports, or the Convention and Sports Authority, they are, in my opinion, currently a secretive political subdivision. They have a lot of closed meetings under Chapter 610 of the state statute. It's hard to find information. I tried working with them a few years ago. They finally developed a website and put a website out there, but they refuse to provide their supporting meeting documents like the State Senate or the House, where you can see all the financial disclosures, all the information on their website. The community has been crying for information about numerous consultants that make a hefty living off of taxpayers, and we would like to see those be transparent and those contracts be released to the public. This agency, if they're going to be given additional money from the state, they have to be cognizant and in compliance with Chapter 610, our Open Meetings Act, and our Public Records Law, and they need to be transparent with all of their contracts, and I'm calling for that to be part of this bill. Also, when they meet in closed session, they have an obligation within 72 hours of making a decision to make each individual vote of those 5 authority commissioners a matter of public record. And St. Charles County citizens are crying for that information to be a matter of public record. Overall, I do support this bill, and I'd like to see some amendments to hold this authority accountable to the public, to make disclosure. They have the software and the capability underneath their executive director or office coordinator to put that information out there, like every board and commission that is part of the state of Missouri. And in St. Charles County, the county and all the municipalities and school districts and special districts disclose their meeting packets. And for some reason, this group of individuals feels that they're above the law and above being transparent to our community, and I'm calling for that to be an amendment in this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions for the witness? Seeing none, next up, would like to testify in favor.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Steve Powell, and I am here representing the St. Charles County Convention and Sports Facilities Authority. I've been involved in the tourism industry for about 41 years. I currently conduct research across the nation on a variety of tourism issues with both cities, counties, not-for-profits, and private developers. In 22-23, I executed a 6-month research project for the St. Charles County Convention Sports Facility Authority, focusing on the feasibility of this sporting event facility venue that we're speaking about. We deployed 8,000 surveys to a variety of sporting event managers and participants across about a 500-mile radius of St. Charles. And those responses, randomly collected responses, indicated a $9 million direct economic impact with additional sales taxes of $151,000 local, $382,000 state. And that's just for those who participate in the venue itself, meaning the sporting teams and the parents that come with those teams. On the spectator side, we projected about 300,000 visitors based on previous other venues around the nation coming to St. Charles on an annual basis. Those visitors were calculated based on a travel party of 2 people staying for 2 nights, and that would generate a direct economic impact of $153,120,000, $153,120,000, which translates into a sales tax of $2 million to the county and $6 million to the state. These are very conservative numbers, by the way. The research calculate the credibility of the research. It's about 94% credible with about a 2% standard deviation. This state-of-the-art facility will offer a premier competitive experience. It's about tournaments. It's about bringing people from throughout the nation, primarily within this 500-mile radius, to St. Charles to compete. It will captivate, our design will captivate athletes and spectators with cutting-edge equipment and world-class amenities. By supporting this legislation, you will establish a world-class venue that elevates Missouri's reputation and stimulates economic growth through tourism and job creation, a strategic investment in the state's future. We're asking for the committee to support this legislation, which provides the resources necessary to support the facility at this level, which will successfully compete against other states. we have to we have to have a facility that has addresses the competitive landscape of other states and allows this facility to be chosen by tournament hosts and what have you. So, thank you so much for your time. If there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up, they would like to testify in favor.
Mr. Chairman, I left out one key element. Do you mind if I add that to my testimony?
If it's very, very brief.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry about that, committee. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, State Public Advocate. Currently in the city of O'Fallon, in the last couple months, there is a developer who came to the City Planning and Zoning Commission and also has received, as of 2 weeks ago, final approval for a similar development. It's a $40 million development at Bryan Road and I-70 on the western part of O'Fallon, and it is going to be an indoor sporting complex. And so instead of recreating the wheel, I'd like to see if these two parties can work together hand in hand. This developer is going to build a hotel, restaurants, a full service area, and it's going to be an indoor sporting facility. And he is not asking for any tax abatement. He's not asking for any community improvement districts, transportation development districts, or community improvement districts, which I think is a great thing. He's doing this on his own financing and his own dime, and it's going to be a number of different sporting indoor events, and it's going to be a family-oriented venue to attract people throughout the Midwest, similar to the complex in Overland Park, Kansas, if anybody's ever been to that that sporting complex. So I want to try to pair these two teams up, and let's not try to create another wheel, and let's try to all work together to bring in revenue for the state, the county, and St. Charles County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to do that.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. I'm sorry.
Senator
So
Washington.
Yes, ma'am.
this is a private development that you're talking about, right?
The $40 million, yes.
So that would be for that person's own edification and own profits, right?
Correct.
So it'd be a little different than what I understand the bill to be, would be to have something publicly owned by the county that would actually increase revenue for the county.
Well, the problem is if they both build a similar complex and they compete against one another, what's the survival rate of
So I'm
one
glad
or
you
the
brought
other?
up Overland Park. So, that's where I live, close to Overland Park, and that has not affected the Kansas City Chiefs selling out, the Royals actually selling more tickets than possible. Our stadium that we paid $286 million for, we were told we were going to get an NBA team. It is actually the number one income generator of all stadiums in the state of America. I mean, in the United States, even though we don't have a team, I guess because we don't have a team, they can book more stuff.
The facility downtown.
Yeah, the Sprint Center, or whatever it's called today, T-Mobile, whatever.
They changed it. They change it every year.
But my point is, I understand a little bit what you're saying about the competition, but I think the point, the nature of this bill is to help the county. And all of these facilities that I mentioned are owned by the county.
Right.
And like we have Big 12 tournaments, so even Overland Park does not stop. That was built because there was a need out there for that, and it's a different type of facility than what we do have in Jackson County. We have conventions through Bartle Hall. That's also part of what St. Charles County could do with this. So I definitely applaud and you looking that deep into it. But I think the purpose here is not to continue to. This is not to incentivize the private developers, but to assist the county into bringing more people to the county and generating more revenue for St. Charles County.
One other issue that you also brought, that came to my recollection right now, St. Charles County owns the Family Arena, which I believe the capacity there is.
I just want to step in real quick because
done.
I gave you the opportunity just for an additional brief statement. And it's turning into a more prolonged conversation. So
I'm just putting all the facts
I
on the record
understand.
so everybody knows what's going on.
No,
That's
I
all.
want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to testify. So, no, please, I'd encourage you guys to continue these conversations offline and keep the conversation going. But Unfortunately, we got to keep things moving.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to testify in favor? Anyone here to testify in opposition? Anyone for informational purposes only? Seeing none, this concludes the hearing for Senate Bill 676. Our final bill we'll be hearing today is House Bill 903. Representative West, please begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Committee, for hearing House Bill 903. I am Representative Richard West, representing Southern St. Charles County District 102. Today I present to you House Bill 903, which is a common sense bill that will allow the timely reduction of valuation of Missouri's personal property tax. Starting on January 1st, 2026, the percentage of the true value in personal property tax, which is tangible personal property, is subject to assessment, shall be reduced by 5 1/9% for a period of 3 years. The assessor shall annually assess all personal property as of January 1st of each calendar year as such percentages. For the calendar year of 2026, 28 and 29% of its true value of money. For the calendar year 2027, 23 and 3/9 percentage of its true value of money. And for the calendar year of 2028 and all subsequent years, 18% of its true value of money. Basically, effectively cutting the valuation of personal property tax in half over a period of 3 years. Mr. Chair, the personal property tax is not only an ineffective tax, but it's a tax that most would consider to be double taxation on property. We do not pay sales tax when we purchase real property. Instead, we pay that taxation through a biannual assessment and then pay yearly on those taxes. Well, personal property tax, we're taxed at the time of purchases, and then each year we decide to retain that property. We are assessed a yearly valuation on the value, and then taxed at 33% of the true value of money of that possession. A friend of mine in the automotive industry recently shared with me the current industry standard is that a typical vehicle is bought and sold 4 times over the lifetime of that vehicle, not including transfers from dealer to customer, but from one tax-paying entity to another. This means the vehicle will be taxed by sales tax each time a sale occurs 4 times for the life of that vehicle, typically by a dealership, which will pull premium price and taxation. Not to mention that personal property tax is paid on that vehicle throughout the life of its journey. Other forms of taxation of personal property. First, personal property to businesses, which to me is sort of an oxymoron. But the verbiage of personal property tax that apply to businesses personal property to the respective county assessor. Shelving, vehicles, forklifts, tools, grain, livestock, farm machinery, poultry, and anything that the business has that is not a real property should be reported for taxation. Now, the personal property tax drives away one of the largest vehicle rental agencies in the world is here in the state of Missouri, and that is Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And if you take out the portion that would be vehicles used for leasing and look at the vehicles used for renting, you will very rarely see Missouri plates on those vehicles because they will take and register those vehicles out of our state and other states to avoid the personal property tax. Therefore, the state is missing out on registration fees, sales tax fees, and other fees. Then we can go on into airplanes. We have several small municipal airports, not to mention the larger ones. The companies fail to register and maintain their vehicles or their aircraft here, where we could also gather either sales tax or registration fees for those airplanes. With that, Mr. Chair, I will open up for answers because I know there's a lot of questions on how we're going to fill the void on some of the taxation that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Do you have any questions for the witness? Senator Washington?
Hi, thank you for being here, Representative. Go ahead and answer that first question you said. How are we going to make this money up?
So I'm going to be rather crude here, but that is not my responsibility. Each of the taxing districts has the availability to reach out and ask for other ways to retain that money. The problem here is just in my county, it costs us around $2 million just to facilitate the collection and the assessment of personal property tax.
So you're going to fire those employees?
I'm going to leave that up to the assessor's office.
So you're going to cause a problem, but you don't have a resolution for it?
No, I didn't say that. There's
Yeah, that's
bills.
exactly what you said, sir. You said I'm going to be crude here and now leave that up to the counties. But it's not the counties that are proposing cutting the taxes that pay for things like our blind pension. You know, this is defunding our police, our libraries, our school district. So let me be real transparent.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody in the world want to pay taxes. You know, I used to live in New York. I lived in Brooklyn. I took my hour train over to New Jersey because I went to high school there for a year, so I knew they didn't tax groceries. Then I made my cousin take me all the way back to Brooklyn with my month full of groceries every month. So I understand that. However, I do understand that we have to be, we can't keep cutting taxes and not providing the source, the revenue, the services that we have all agreed to provide. So if you are the proposer of cutting the taxes, then you should also be the person to be able to resolve the problem. You're doing like a squared plus b squared equals question mark, but your question mark is leave it up to somebody else to answer that equation.
May I answer, Madam Senator?
Yeah, that's why I paused.
So my bill just reduces the valuation of the personal property itself. Okay, if the taxes, there's nothing to say that the tax can't be raised on the back end. I'm reducing the valuation of the taxes. Now, the honesty is it's going to reduce the tax collected. I understand that. What I'm saying is there are other mechanisms for these taxing districts and taxing communities to go out and ask the people for a tax. Government is lazy. We've accepted the fact that we're just going to keep utilizing a bad tax, which is personal property tax. Okay, it keeps people from, it's hard, first of all, it's hard to collect. For you and I, we go out and register our vehicles, but for people that move around, people that take their stuff out of state to register it, but still use our roads and still use the things that this taxation pays for, we don't collect that tax. There's been an estimated amount to me that there's approximately $150 million worth of this tax that is not collected every year because for different reasons. I will tell you this. I have asked for 5 years that I've been here for these entities to reach out to me and let's figure this out.
Did you reach out to them?
Actually, ma'am, what I have done is I have right here in my possession a letter that I sent out to all of the assessors and all of the collectors in our state. I even sunshined them the second time around. Do you know how many replies I got? The first time I got 6 replies. The second time I got, on a sunshine request, I got 0 replies. They do not want to work with me on this.
I appreciate your efforts, but I don't think we're getting to the answer, so I'm going to go ahead and yield.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, anyone that would like to testify in favor of this bill, please come forward. Seeing none, anyone like to testify in opposition?
Chairman Brown, Senators, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you. My name is Dr. Edward Walton. I am the Executive Director of the Springfield-Greene County Library District. I just want to express my appreciation for Senators for your work on our behalf, the citizens of the state of Missouri. And I want to express my opposition to the passage of this bill due to the significant negative impact it will have on the citizens of Greene County. Over the past several months, the Library District has engaged our constituents in a strategic planning process to envision priorities for the next 5 years. The residents clearly expressed their desire for the Library District to increase operating hours, add new library facilities, provide more materials to borrow, improve facilities, and expand programming. If this bill passes, I am deeply concerned about the impact it will have on the Library District's ability to effectively support our citizens' initiatives. In discussing the impact of this bill with Greene County Tax Assessor Brent Johnson, he projected the outcome of this bill will be devastating to the residents of Greene County. The bill will reduce funding for all special taxing districts, For the library district, over the 3-year implementation of the bill, Mr. Johnson predicted our revenue would be reduced by almost $3 million. In the first year of implementation, the income reduction would be almost $500,000. In year 2, it would be almost $1 million, and in year 3, it would be $1.45 million. By year 3, that is a 7.8% reduction in revenue for the Springfield Greene County Library District. As of today, the district is only able to generate revenue through personal property and real property taxes. We are not eligible to seek alternative taxing methods, so we cannot request our citizens to provide a sales tax for our district because we are not eligible under state law. This bill is one of many bills currently under consideration by the legislature that seeks to reduce or eliminate personal and real property taxes. Like most special taxing districts, the library district receives more than 90% of its revenue through these taxes. The citizens of Greene County approved the library district's current tax levy rate more than 20 years ago. These taxes provide a level of service our constituents desire. By approving this bill, you will be removing our citizens' voice concerning the services they want and the taxes they are willing to pay for those services. In speaking with library directors across the state, they share my concern over the impact this bill will have on their constituents. Like our library district, other large library districts will see $1 million plus reductions in revenue that will be hard to absorb and no alternative for being able to recoup those taxes. However, many smaller libraries are concerned about surviving such a significant change in their revenue stream. If this bill is passed, the lost revenue will force the library district to consider reducing services to our constituents, including the possibility of reducing library hours, closing libraries, laying off employees, and or curtailing material acquisitions. These outcomes are in opposition to our constituents' expressed desire. The outcome of this bill is not good for the Greene County residents. Therefore, I ask you not to approve this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. So where you're at, is there something preventing library districts from bonding in order to try to raise revenue?
We can bond to raise revenue, yes.
Okay.
But bonding typically is going to pay for non-operational expenses. So operational expenses comes under personal and real property tax.
Gotcha. But yeah, but you're saying that for outside of that, you don't have any other avenues for raising revenue? Okay.
We can go back to the citizens and ask for a levy increase, but again, that would be counterproductive to this bill.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony. Please be sure to leave a witness form. Anyone else in opposition?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Arnie C., AC Dinoff, State Public Advocate. This is a tough one for me. I hate personal property taxes. I think we as Missourians want to abolish Missouri personal property taxes, but we have to have a solution of how to replace the revenues dollar for dollar. HB903, it was discussed, and I testified at the House Special Committee on Tax Reform on January 22nd. The committee voted it out of committee for approval to the House by a vote of 7-3. I testified before the House that, and I have all due respect for Representative West. I think he's one of the 5 top legislators in the House of Representatives. He's got an outstanding, compassionate heart, and he wants to serve the people, do right by the people. He has great intentions here and a heart of gold, but we disagree. I mean, we want to abolish I want to abolish personal property taxes. He does, but I think that we have to come up with a solution. In St. Charles County, we have 3 large school districts, which are in the top 7 of the largest school districts across Missouri. The Francis Howell School District, the Wentzville School District, and the Fort Zumwalt School District. They are all approximately around $300 million in annual revenues. By cutting or abolishing the personal property tax without replacing it dollar for dollar will cost each district 1/3 of their budget, or $100 million. The Boards of Education of these three districts and districts across Missouri would be faced with laying off 1/3 of their staff, closing 1/3 of their school buildings, and cutting their operating expense by 1/3. This would also affect fire protection districts, ambulance districts, library districts, sewer districts, not water districts, lighting districts, other special taxing entities. It will affect the state to the tune of $5 million, and the financial impact on, as a whole, on the state, the county, local government, and special districts is $915 million. $915 million, and if you add increases in valuation, it will go over $1 billion of lost revenue. There needs to be a comprehensive change and a financial solution to this bill. Because there is no solution, I cannot support this bill. I support the theory, but we need to come up with a solution to replace dollar for dollar. I don't want to hurt education. I don't want to hurt our public safety entities such as ambulance and fire districts. And so therefore I have to oppose HB 903. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, next up, they would like to testify in opposition. Just a show of hands, how many people are still planning on testifying on this bill? Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Kenny Moore. I'm the Boone County Assessor. I also am here on behalf of the Missouri State Assessors Association. Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to testify this morning. As has been stated, this bill, as it is currently written, would be devastating to taxing jurisdictions. The 2024 in Boone County, the total assessed value of personal property was $823 million. If we assessed it as opposed to 33 1/3 at 18%, that assessed value would go down to $440 million. That would be a reduction in tax revenue for Boone County, along with all of the other taxing jurisdictions within this, of over $25 million, without any way to recoup that lost revenue. The smaller rural counties would be devastated more than like Boone County. We're kind of a larger county. The reason I say that is a lot of these small counties, personal property accounts for up to 40% of their total tax revenue. Boone County, it's about 20%. So they would be devastated, along with their, as I mentioned a while ago, the fire districts, the library districts, ambulance districts, hospital districts, and school districts alone, forcing a lot of them probably to close in these rural communities, which would create a public health or a public safety issue. So anyway, be more than happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Senator Washington?
Hi, thank you for being here. Real quick, what would you estimate the cost to collect these taxes are for Boone County on an annual basis?
On an annual, that, as far as collecting taxes, that really would get over to the collector's office. I can't speak for him. But, as far as assessment goes, and as far as the declaration mailing and all that stuff, me retrieving the data, entering the data with my staff and everything, I would say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about $400,000 a year currently.
Okay, thank you. And, I'm sorry, and what's your total budget for your department?
Total budget of my department is roughly about $1.6 million.
Okay, thank you. All right, one more question. How many employees you got?
Currently, my staff is at 15.
At 50 or 15?
15.
And so are there staff members that are personally dedicated to the personal property portion?
Yes, ma'am.
How many of those?
I've currently got a staff on personal property side of thing of 7.
And would you have to lay those people off if this happened?
Yes, ma'am. A lot of them I would.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up in opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Steve Hobbs, Executive Director of the Missouri Association of Counties, here to testify in opposition to House Bill 903. I think as it's been said here, none of us are fans of personal property tax, but personal property tax was put in for a reason. It's kind of a leveling agent that is used in the taxation process, especially for rural areas. You have property taxes, your real property, and then you have your personal property. Personal property encapsulates people that do not own their properties and rent, who lease vehicles. There are different ways that personal property and it all fits together. With doing, and the fiscal note that has been prepared by the Department of Revenue, if personal property taxes were done away with it entirely, is $2 billion to local governments and those political subdivisions. So we have to be very careful when we talk about that. As was mentioned earlier, many of these political subdivisions do not have the ability to go after a sales tax, or if they did, if they're in a really rural part of the state, the sales tax just doesn't generate very much revenue. They're very dependent on real property and personal property. Farmers pay personal property taxes on the equipment they own, even though that equipment is exempt from sales tax when they purchase it. They pay significant amounts of personal property taxes when for the equipment and the rolling stock that they own. The same with businesses. So this is a very complicated issue, and a simple reduction in that without any method of relief is pretty difficult. And to Representative West, I would like to talk with you a little bit about when you were trying to get information. In the process that counties go through, the assessor assesses the property. They have no control over the levy setting process. And the collector just collects the money. So you would need, if you want more information on that, you would probably need to talk to the county commissions, the auditor, or the county clerk as the budget authority to get information you need. And if you need any help with that, I'd be happy to help you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, thank you for your testimony. I mean, I don't have any questions, so I guess we are still taking witnesses. Witnesses in opposition. Senator, or Mr. Chair, do you have any questions for the last witness? Because I didn't. Okay. All right. Next witness in opposition to House Bill 903.
Hello, my name is Patrick Wall. I'm from the University City Public Library. I thank you for the committee for taking the time to hear our view on this. University City Public Library, this would be a significant loss of revenue for us. Over those first 3 years, it would be about $384,000, which would be very significant for us. We're already struggling, as libraries are across the state, with the potential loss of all federal funding with IMLS being shuttered. Our library's residents in 2019 approved a local tax rate that would now be undone at the state level. And we'd be facing services to cut when our residents seemingly are going to need us most if there is an economic downturn. We're talking about the loss of job-seeking assistance, which is a significant service we provide, reduced summer reading programs for children, and curtailing library programs for seniors. Libraries around the state will have to reduce collections, cut services, cut staffing, and cut hours, as been previously stated. And as I said, I mean, this is the time when libraries get busier, when there is an economic downturn and our citizens need us the most. When we had our tax levy raised in 2019, there was an overwhelmingly positive response. We had close to 80% yes vote on that. And, we feel our community they rely on us, and we want to be there for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Next up in opposition.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Randy Schroer, representing Missouri Library Association. You have already heard from some. I'm not going to repeat anything that they've said. We have some information. We had several libraries that went to their assessors and their collectors to get numbers, and I just have numbers on 2 of them, but I know there's a lot more out there. One library in Missouri would lose approximately $5 million a year after it's implemented, and $10 million in the first 3 years, and then $5 million each year after that. Another one would lose $6 million in the first 3 years, and then continuing on at about $2 million loss. I appreciate Mr. Hobbs mentioning the equipment, and it's not just farm equipment, but it's all equipment, all the assets, the personal property that is out there that has no sales tax paid on it, that would be subject to this. And I know there was some comment about paying sales tax and then double taxation, but there is a significant amount of equipment out there. Think about this. Missouri state law provides for sales tax exemption on anything that is used, any equipment or tools or anything that is used to make a product that's ultimately sold at retail. And in 1979, I passed the sales tax exemption on farm equipment, and that's the principle we used to get that sales tax exemption then, so that it copied all the other equipment that is used to make a product that's ultimately sold at retail and sales tax is collected on. So I'll stop there. I know there's a couple more witnesses, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you. Next up in opposition.
Good morning, almost afternoon, and my name is Evie Craig, and I'm here on behalf of the Kansas City Public Library, and I want to apologize. I was rushing this morning. I got the green memo, thought it said gray, so I just saw the GR. So, and I don't know where I got the pink tennis shoes from. So, I'm really going to largely base my comments upon a memo I think you've all received from Abby Ellman, the Director and Chief Executive of Kansas City Urban Public Library District. And I want to clarify that we are speaking in very strong opposition to HB 903. Am I? Okay, sorry. We respectfully express our strong opposition to it. I would propose a significant reduction, as you know, in personal property assessment rates, negatively impacting the library's ability to provide critical services, including digital access, literacy and educational services, workforce development, and community resources. This bill disproportionately, in our opinion, harms seniors, families, veterans, rural residents, and low-income Missourians. There's so much that people don't know about what happens with libraries and how they function in communities. And people use libraries. They are there. They are safe spaces. They are open at convenient hours. So they become offices. They become meeting spaces. They become, you probably have been there, sometimes playgrounds, as well as all the resources they offer. And it simply can't be replaced with other government services and saves millions and millions of dollars every year for you all. Based on the current language, the Kansas City Public Library District estimates that we would lose $6 million over a 4-year period. I think you have that chart in the email that you received again yesterday. The major impact, we just wanted to make sure we clarified, was loss of literacy and education services. It threatens essential literacy and education programs, putting at risk the success of Missouri children and adults in reading initiatives, tutoring, and school partnerships. reduction in digital access programs. This is a key resource that libraries across the state provide. And I think we all know that we are still dealing with issues where there's not full digital access for folks dependent upon their economic status or what is happening in the environment around them. This reduced funding would limit the library's ability to offer digital access and literacy training, affecting those who depend on internet access, which is really right now just about all of us. Wi-Fi hotspots, computer loans, tech workshops, and one-on-one assistance is to fully engage in a world dependent upon access and technology. You cannot move ahead if you do not have access to this. And the library provides that again in a way that the state simply and the local communities could not provide otherwise. Limits job training and workforce development. I think this is a key service that libraries provide by their access to resources that most of us don't understand. It would reduce access to job training, career counseling, resume help, and small business support, directly impacting workforce readiness. I have seen entrepreneurs ranging from 16, I was going to say 60, but that doesn't seem so old to me any longer, so I'll say 16 to 76, at our library, setting up, meeting other entrepreneurs, and moving on from there to benefit the community and our state over many, many years. Reduces access to critical community resources. It could curtail access to vital public resources, including free meeting spaces and health and wellness programs provided at libraries. I have one more. Impact on vulnerable populations. The bill would disproportionately harm, as I mentioned earlier, seniors, people with disabilities, who again are able to access library spaces everywhere across the state, veterans and low-income families who rely on free library services and space to meet basic educational, healthcare, digital, and financial needs. Yesterday, Senator Schnelting's office sent an email to Abby asking about the impact specifically in Kansas City on veterans, and we estimate that we see about 9,500 veterans each year. We have several upcoming programs, including one in May, which is a coffee and conversation with a gentleman from Veterans Affairs, where veterans can come and in a safe, accessible space, again, accessible to if they have any physical disabilities as a result of their service to our country, where they're able to get questions asked. I think we all know how intimidating that process can be. So to be in a space safe with your fellow veterans, as well as an expert to have that, we think is an important thing that the service that the library provides. We also provide workshops for veterans who are writing. Writing can be very therapeutic, and coming to the library to write can be more therapeutic than many other services that they access. They come together in solidarity. So we also have an award-winning street sheet, which provides access to resources for veterans, many of which they don't know about, and that's a critical gap that we provide. So we recognize the desire of tax relief, but urge thoughtful review of this bill's unintended consequences. The proposed cuts would undermine our library's ability to provide educational, economic, and social support our communities count on every day. And as you are considering it, I encourage you, if you haven't been recently, to go to your local library and see what is happening there these days. And I think you would be proud, and I think you would see a benefit that the state and other local units of government and other local nonprofits simply can't provide right now. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for that testimony. Any questions for the witness? Senator Washington? Just
Why should we care about the arts?
Well, right now I'm talking about the library.
That too.
But that just is that question of access, that folks can come in and receive services when it works for them, as it works for them, and in a way that works for them, whether it's one-on-one or whether it's in a larger group. I was saying, Senator, while you were out of the room, and I like your green, although I just got the GR, so I wore gray, that what we see often is entrepreneurs who come to the Blueford branch. Senator Lewis left earlier, but she would see it at the Waldo branch library, who come in, and we see entrepreneurs from the age of 16 to the age of 76. I used to say 60, but that doesn't seem very old anymore, who come to libraries. So there's so much that is happening there, and I know you are in the Blueford branch a lot, and I'm just encouraging folks to go to their library and see what's happening there. It's certainly not the same as the library that I grew up with, and I think it's something we should be very proud of, and something that's irreplaceable at the same cost from other local units of government or from nonprofits who are very pressed these days, particularly in serving vulnerable populations.
And in our community in Kansas City, which is where you're from, we've already cut a lot of library locations, right? I mean,
Yes.
they used to be in every school.
That's correct.
Had a library, and we don't do that anymore. So we do need to keep the libraries we have open because of the services that they provide. Is that what you're saying?
100%.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Please be sure to leave a witness form. And is there anyone else left to testify in
Thank you,
opposition?
Ben.
Thank you. Is there anyone else testifying in opposition after this? All right. Looks like the
Wrapping it up.
last but not least.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee. I'm Laura Holloway with the Missouri Municipal League, and much of our testimony has already been covered, but we really just want to reiterate that this reduces critical funding for local communities, and these are voter-approved and critical services for streets, economic development, public safety, et cetera. So for that reason, we're in opposition to House Bill 903.
Thank you. And any questions for the witness? Seeing none. Just one last check. Anyone else left to testify in opposition? Seeing none. Anyone here for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Representative, do you have any closing remarks?
I do, Mr. Chair. I thank you for the opportunity to come today. And what I heard here was exactly what I had expected, a bunch of fear-mongering that I'm attempting to cut services, which I am not doing. I'm asking these taxing districts to find a different form of taxation, which are already on the books. Some of them cannot use taxes or sales tax, but as we know, what's moving through the House and Senate right now are sales tax opportunities for fire and ambulance. I support those because I think that's a great way to replace a personal property tax. There are other taxation methods out there, and I'm encouraging them to use this. That is the reason that this is a walk down of the valuation. I support no cuts. This bill in no way is meant to actuate any cuts on any services, and I would support any measures to replace this tax with different forms of taxation. They could all move it to real property tax, but nobody wants to do that because they have to go back to the public, and they're afraid to do so. So again, my comment is government is being lazy and using a very poor form of taxation that costs the people money. It costs them extra government when we could be doing it a different way. And I've asked several times for 5 years to have conversations, and nobody has a conversation. So with that, I close. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the hearing for House Bill 903. With no further business coming before the committee, I now make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. We are adjourned.